This is USA tariff collapse, and tonight we're pulling back the shiny foil on one of America's most beloved illusions. Chocolate. For decades it's been sold to us as comfort, as a gift of love, as a harmless indulgence we could trust without question. Valentine's Day hearts, Halloween buckets, Easter baskets, Christmas stockings, chocolate has been stitched into every part of American life. But behind the glossy wrappers and billion-dollar ad campaigns, the truth is darker than anyone wants to admit. Investigations from consumer watchdogs, lawsuits from angry families, and independent lab tests are all pointing to the same chilling reality. Many of the biggest chocolate brands in America are no longer what they pretend to be. They are not 100% pure, not 100% safe, and in many cases, not even close to 100% honest. Instead, they've been tied to toxic heavy metals like lead and cadmium, linked to child exploitation on foreign farms, and accused of hiding dangerous shortcuts in their supply chains just to maximize profits. And while they rake in billions every year, you and your family are left holding the risk, in your bloodstream, in your health, in your trust. Seniors, parents, and children reach for these bars every single day, believing they're harmless, even wholesome. But when we count down these 7 brands, you'll see exactly why that innocent chocolate bar in your hand may be the most bitter bite of all. Stay with me, because by the time we reach number 1, you'll never look at chocolate the same way again. Number 7, Hershey's. The name itself feels like America. Baseball games, family road trips, and theme parks built around this chocolate empire. But the image Hershey's sells doesn't match the reality inside its bars. Recent independent testing from consumer groups revealed shocking levels of lead and cadmium in popular Hershey's dark chocolate products, heavy metals that have been linked to neurological damage, kidney problems, and developmental delays in children. For seniors, exposure to these toxins can quietly weaken bones, strain the heart, and even contribute to memory decline. And this isn't just one bad batch. Lawsuits have already been filed accusing Hershey's of knowingly selling chocolate that contains unsafe levels of these metals without properly warning customers. At the same time, critics say Hershey's supply chain has long been tied to exploitative labor practices overseas, with cocoa farmers working in brutal conditions for pennies while the company's executives collect record profits. For a brand that built its reputation on trust and family, Hershey's has let its loyal customers down. Every time you unwrap that familiar brown and silver label, you might be unwrapping a toxic gamble that the company doesn't want to talk about. The truth is simple. Hershey's is no longer just a sweet American tradition. It's a cautionary tale of what happens when corporate greed poisons even our most innocent pleasures. Number 6, Nestlé. For over a century, Nestlé has positioned itself as the smiling face of global food, the trusted brand behind childhood snacks, candy bars, and holiday favorites. But when you peel back the wrapper, Nestlé's chocolate empire reveals something far less sweet. Multiple human rights investigations have documented the use of child labor in its cocoa supply chain, with children as young as 10 reported working long hours in unsafe conditions across West African farms. These aren't isolated allegations. Lawsuits and journalistic exposés have been circling Nestlé for decades, forcing the company to repeatedly promise reforms that never seem to fully arrive. At the same time, Nestlé's chocolate products have drawn criticism for being diluted with excessive sugar, artificial flavors, and cheap fillers that cut down on real cocoa content. What once carried the prestige of European chocolate tradition has in many cases been reduced to mass-market candy engineered for profit margins, not quality. Independent lab tests have also raised red flags, detecting traces of lead and cadmium in certain Nestlé chocolate products, toxins with long-term risks to brain health, heart function, and bone strength. For seniors, that means potential hidden damage that accumulates quietly, all while Nestlé advertises its chocolates as joyful and family-friendly. And while you hand a Nestlé Crunch Bar or Kit Kat to your child or grandchild, the uncomfortable truth is that those same treats may have come at the expense of exploited children on the other side of the world. Nestlé wants its customers to focus on the smiles in its commercials, but behind the curtain is a company repeatedly caught in ethical failures, cheap shortcuts, and dangerous compromises. Buying their chocolate isn't just a small indulgence. It could mean funding a system that thrives on hidden suffering and broken promises. Number 5. Mars. When most Americans hear the name Mars, they think of household classics like M&M's, Snickers, and Milky Way, colorful candies and chewy bars that have been passed down for generations. But Mars, like its rivals, is facing a growing storm of scrutiny over what's really inside its chocolate and how it's made. Consumer safety groups have raised alarms after testing found concerning amounts of heavy metals, especially cadmium, in some of Mars's dark chocolate lines. Cadmium is not just a technical issue on a lab chart. It's a toxin that accumulates in the body, slowly damaging the kidneys and weakening bones over time. For children and seniors, that risk is magnified, yet Mars continues to pump these products onto store shelves with little more than a small print disclaimer buried deep in corporate reports. And then there's the sugar. A single king-sized Snickers bar packs nearly 60% of the daily recommended sugar intake for an adult, a level linked directly to the growing crisis of obesity, diabetes, and heart disease in the United States. Critics argue Mars has deliberately engineered its products to be addictive, blending sugar, fat, and salt into a combination that hooks the brain's reward system. Meanwhile, the company has also been tied to supply chain scandals in West Africa, with lawsuits accusing Mars, Hershey's, and Nestlé of turning a blind eye to child labor and abusive practices on cocoa farms. These issues are not just history, they are ongoing, with new investigations surfacing year after year. Yet Mars spends billions on cheerful commercials that show children sharing M&Ms at a party, or athletes grabbing a Snickers for energy, selling the illusion of fun while burying the ugly truth. Behind every bright candy shell and nougat bite, there are toxins, sugar overload, and a human cost that Mars would prefer you never think about. And as their profits continue to climb into the billions, the health and dignity of consumers and workers alike continue to pay the price. Number 4. Cadbury. To many people, Cadbury feels like comfort in purple wrapping, the iconic British chocolate that built its reputation on creamy texture and family tradition. But today, the Cadbury name, now owned by corporate giant Mondelez International, is far removed from the quaint image it still tries to project. Recent investigations into Cadbury products sold in the US and abroad have uncovered troubling signs of contamination, including traces of lead in certain batches that raised immediate alarm among consumer watchdogs. For seniors, even small, amounts of lead can trigger long-term cardiovascular stress, nerve damage, and memory decline. Yet Cadbury has not been forced to put clear warnings on its packaging. On top of that, Cadbury's supply chain has been repeatedly linked to child labor and forced labor in cocoa farming regions, echoing the same scandals that have stained the entire chocolate industry. Families who believed they were buying a safe premium product are now learning that their purchase may be supporting exploitative practices thousands of miles away. And when you look closely at what's inside the bar itself, the disappointment continues. Many Cadbury products sold in America are not the same as those made in Europe. Formulas are changed, cocoa content is reduced, and cheaper ingredients, like palm oil and high-fructose corn syrup, are slipped in, all while prices climb. That means American consumers are paying more for a chocolate that is less authentic and potentially less safe than the Cadbury their parents grew up with. The irony is brutal. A brand once associated with generosity, with Easter eggs and family sharing, now represents corporate shortcuts and ethical failures. Every bite may still taste smooth, but the aftertaste is corruption, exploitation, and deception. Cadbury built its empire on trust, but in today's market, that trust is melting away faster than its chocolate on a hot day. Number 3. Lindt. For decades, Lindt has marketed itself as the gold standard of chocolate, wrapped in elegant foil, promoted as luxury, and sold at a premium price that convinces shoppers they are buying purity and quality. But recent reports And consumer investigations reveal that Lint's glossy image doesn't always match the reality inside those golden wrappers. Independent lab tests have detected troubling levels of lead and cadmium in certain Lindt dark chocolate products, metals that are especially dangerous for vulnerable groups like seniors, who can experience accelerated bone loss, nerve complications, and memory decline from prolonged exposure. What makes this sting even more is the price tag. Consumers are paying 2 to 3 times more for Lindt than for mass-market brands, only to discover that the supposed luxury product may carry the same toxic baggage. And the concerns don't end with heavy metals. Critics point out that Lindt, like many global chocolate makers, has struggled with ongoing allegations of child labor in its cocoa sourcing. Despite flashy sustainability pledges and glossy PR campaigns, watchdog groups say Lindt has failed to fully eliminate child exploitation from its supply chain, a failure that calls into question the very foundation of its ethical claims. At the same time, recipes sold in the US often differ from those in Europe, with cocoa content adjusted downward and cheaper ingredients introduced, yet prices remain inflated. This means American consumers are often getting a weaker product at a higher cost, while still believing they are buying into European excellence. The psychological betrayal is enormous. People reach for Lindt truffles during holidays, anniversaries, and moments meant to feel special. But hidden inside that moment of indulgence is a cocktail of corporate shortcuts, ethical compromises, and chemical risks. For a company that brands itself as master chocolatiers, the reality is far from mastery. It's a carefully packaged illusion. Lindt's reputation has been built on trust, but when the curtain is pulled back, we see a company willing to gamble with health, exploit workers, and dilute quality, all while charging consumers luxury prices. Number 2. Godiva. For many Americans, Godiva is the ultimate symbol of luxury chocolate, the kind you give as a romantic gift, the kind displayed in golden boxes during the holidays, the kind you buy to feel like you're treating yourself to something pure and indulgent. But the glittering image of Godiva is being ripped apart by harsh realities. Multiple lawsuits have accused the company of misleading consumers by stamping its products with Belgium 1926, a phrase meant to imply authentic Belgian heritage and craftsmanship, even though the majority of Godiva chocolate sold in the United States is manufactured thousands of miles away in Pennsylvania and elsewhere. This isn't just clever marketing. Courts have ruled it deceptive, forcing Godiva to pay millions in settlements to angry customers who discovered they were paying premium prices for a product that was not what it claimed to be. At the same time, Godiva's chocolate has not escaped the same toxic scrutiny that haunts its rivals. Independent tests have flagged certain Godiva dark chocolate bars for elevated levels of lead and cadmium, toxic metals that accumulate silently in the body, harming organs, weakening bones, and undermining long-term brain health. Seniors who indulge in Godiva, believing it's a safer, luxury option, may actually be exposing themselves to the very same hidden dangers found in cheaper brands. And then there's the ethical dimension. Like Lindt, Hershey's, and Mars, Godiva's cocoa sourcing has been tainted by reports of child labor in West Africa, with watchdog groups repeatedly accusing the company of failing to clean up its supply chain despite decades of promises. Behind the velvet ribbons and golden packaging is a story of exploitation, deception, and corporate greed. What makes this betrayal even sharper is the emotional bond people have with Godiva, buying a box for Valentine's Day, for anniversaries, or as a heartfelt gift. Customers think they are offering love, purity, and luxury, but what they may really be giving is a product built on shortcuts, scandals, and toxins. Godiva has wrapped itself in gold for nearly a century, but beneath the shine is a chocolate empire that is rotting from within. Number 1. Ferrero. Few chocolate brands capture the illusion of elegance and innocence as strongly as Ferrero. The glittering gold-wrapped Ferrero Rocher truffles symbolize luxury in every grocery store, while Kinder Eggs and Kinder Chocolate are marketed as fun, safe treats for children. But behind this shiny reputation, Ferrero has been rocked by scandals that make it the most dangerous brand on our list. In 2022, Ferrero was forced into a massive global recall after salmonella contamination was linked to Kinder chocolate products. Sold in Europe and the UK, sickening dozens of children. What stunned the public was not only the contamination itself, but how slowly Ferrero responded, waiting weeks before informing regulators and consumers, a delay that put families at risk. For a company built on trust, this failure was devastating. And the problems didn't end there. Independent testing of Ferrero products has revealed troubling amounts of lead and cadmium, particularly in their dark chocolate lines, raising serious health concerns for anyone consuming them regularly. For seniors, this silent buildup can mean weakened bones, memory loss, and organ stress. For children, it can impair development in ways that last a lifetime. Add to this the reports of child labor tied to Ferrero's cocoa supply chain, and the picture grows darker still. Ferrero, like its rivals, has failed to cut its ties to exploitation despite its polished marketing campaigns. Even the gold standard of Ferrero Rocher has faced criticism, with consumer advocates noting that the product is heavy on sugar, palm oil, and cheap fillers, while being sold at inflated prices under the illusion of European luxury. That golden wrapper may sparkle under store lights, but inside is a cocktail of corporate neglect, health risks, and broken promises. Ferrero has carefully crafted an image of elegance and innocence, but the truth is far more bitter. It has endangered children, misled families, and charged premium prices for products that are not what they claim to be. In the countdown of chocolate's darkest secrets, Ferrero doesn't just take the #1 spot, it defines it. For most of our lives, chocolate has been one of the most comforting symbols of happiness. We handed out Hershey's bars at Halloween, broke Kit Kats on school trips, filled Easter baskets with Cadbury eggs, toasted anniversaries with Lindt truffles, and celebrated Christmas with boxes of Godiva and Ferrero Rocher wrapped in golden foil. Every generation in America has been told that chocolate equals love, nostalgia, and family. But this investigation has ripped that illusion wide open. What we found instead was a trail of deception, toxins, and exploitation that runs through almost every major chocolate brand on the shelves. Hershey's, the supposed heart of American sweetness, caught selling chocolate laced with toxic metals. Nestlé, the so-called global family brand, exposed again and again for child labor. In its cocoa fields, Mars, with its colorful M&Ms and Snickers bars, hiding sugar bombs and chemical risks behind smiling commercials. Cadbury, once the pride of British chocolate, quietly cutting corners and lowering quality for the American market while charging more. Lindt, parading as luxury, while lab tests show the same poisonous metals found in cheaper candy. Godiva, wrapped in gold and velvet ribbons, forced to pay millions in settlements for misleading consumers about its origins, while quietly delivering the same toxic risks as its rivals. And Ferrero, the brand that took gold to the extreme, caught selling contaminated products that sickened children, then waiting weeks before alerting the public. This is not just about chocolate. This is about trust. These companies have sold us lies wrapped in sweetness, exploiting our memories and emotions while hiding the dangerous truths. Heavy metals don't just disappear from your body. They accumulate silently, weakening bones, harming the brain, damaging organs. Child labor doesn't vanish because a company issues a glossy press release. It continues as long as the profits flow. And deceptive marketing doesn't stop because of one lawsuit. It's part of the business model. So where does that leave us, the consumers? Families are paying premium prices for chocolate that isn't 100% safe, isn't 100% honest, and often isn't even 100% chocolate. Seniors who believe a small square of dark chocolate will help their heart may actually be ingesting toxic metals that threaten their health. Parents who buy Kinder eggs thinking they're fun for kids may be handing their children products tied to salmonella outbreaks and exploitation. And all of us, every time we unwrap one of these bars, are being told a silent lie, that what's inside is love, when what's inside is corruption. Chocolate will always taste sweet on the tongue, but after this the question is, can you still swallow what it represents? These brands have shown us that no wrapper is too shiny to hide greed, no slogan too charming to cover up exploitation, and no golden foil too bright to mask poison. The next time you stand in the candy aisle, ask yourself, do you want to pay for nostalgia and deception, or do you want to finally unwrap the truth? Because when it comes to these 7 chocolate brands, one thing is certain: they are not 100%.